idea. Everybody's like, hey, three first round exits. It's time to clean house here. And that's just not the philosophy that the front office has. Is, ownership might have a different story, and they're ultimately the ones that make those decisions if they want to keep with the current path of management. But this management group believes in the Hagels and the Sorellis and the Kucherovs, the Points, the Gensels. I mean, there's a lot of talent on this team. I've written a couple of freelance team previews, and the conventional idea from a lot of people is the window is closing. The Lightning, they don't feel their window is closing because they still have elite players producing at an elite level. They feel they need to bring in the complementary players.
Welcome to the Thunder. It's me, Shooter.
Wow, that's a nice shooter. Let me have a look.
Mr. Thomas Schooley. School's back in session. If you're out there, you notice might look a little bit different, just a tad different tonight. That is because we are now streaming with the Coastal Sports Network 102.9. So let's bring the man on right now so we can tell you a little bit more about Coastal Sports Network. And we've got Erik Erlendsson coming in. We had a big trade last night, but let's bring in Angel Martinez first, and he can tell you a little bit more about this network that we've decided to join. What's up, man? Thanks for having us on.
Not a problem whatsoever. What's up, Shooter and Schooley? I'm glad you guys are here on the Coastal Sports Network and Sports Radio 102.9 The Game. Good thing about you guys and the fantastic work that you guys end up doing, and thanks for Schooley for reaching out, because I really do appreciate it. For the Coastal Sports Network, it started about 5 years ago, as you guys see in the background here. It's Broad Street South is kind of where everything originated from. Because I'm from Philly, moved here to Tampa, 2018, after the Eagles won the Super Bowl, I decided to start up a network with its now 5th year since COVID when I fired it up. It pivoted to the Coastal Sports Network, and the idea behind it is for those of us who work hard, and for those of us who may not be heard on the local radio stations or the national radio stations, well, I decided to start a 100% digital platform. And so right now, for those who are tuning in, you can listen not only to the show on the social media handles with us and our guys here, but also you can go over to the website, sr1029thegame.com, and look under the starting lineup, and you guys will find We the Thunder there. And what you can do is actually look at the live video that's running just like it is right now in front of us. And also you can hear it on the digital radio. So if you guys are home, you're ready to step out into your car, just transfer the video over to the radio side, connect it into your car like you do with Android Play and CarPlay, and you guys won't miss a beat. And then when you arrive to your destination, whether it's a gym or wherever you're going, bring it to the live video, and it picks up right where you guys left off. So starting the network, it was an opportunity to present to folks that I believe here on the network is to help everyone elevate their shows, elevate their platform, and elevate their podcast, because that's what I would like to do, is provide an opportunity for everyone to just to have fun, be themselves, not change who they are. I'm not regulated by the FCC, so whatever anybody says and goes, that's the way it goes. That's what makes it fun. So it's just been a lot of fun creating the Coastal Sports Network, obviously Florida themed, because we run from coast to coast, including the North and South, and our great friends and family in the Armed Forces Network, they get to listen to us as well live. So we are everywhere around the world. And thanks to everyone to help support and just be around and listen into our daily shows. It makes it all wonderful.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, thanks for letting us join in on the fun here. We've had opportunities to join other networks before and always kind of turned it down. But after talking to you and Thomas found you, I convinced Thomas not to quit the show this offseason and said, no, let's go hang out with Angel and the team over there. I think it's going to be a good thing as we're looking to do some bigger and better things this season. I think you guys compliment us and we'll compliment you. And for anyone that's out there that's new to this show, we'll cover the Tampa Bay Lightning. Thomas Schooley and myself are diehard Tampa Bay Lightning fans. And we've been there I haven't been there from the start. Thomas Schooley has. I came from up north too, Angel. So not Philly, not quite as rabid as the Philly fans, but in Baltimore, we're a little crazy too.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for having us. I think this will be a great partnership and bigger things to come. I think. I know you guys work a little bit with Tampa Joe's restaurant where we did one of our watch parties last season. So maybe some more to come there. But cheers to having us on here. Thomas, maybe we'll let you speak a little bit tonight. Are you there?
Yeah, it was great. We talked a little bit before we went live, and I had found them. If anybody's from Pinellas County or anything, everybody knows the website INOTB. It's where you go to if there's an accident here in in Pinellas County. They just happened to sponsor INOTB. So I had looked into it at the end of last season, and then the off season, I was like, you know what, let me see about getting some balls rolling here. But Shooter's always the ones that seals the deals and makes the deals. I just find the guests and the different things. And then I'm like, okay, Shooter will message you. And that's what I did here. I reached out to Angel. I had a little conversation, and then I was like, okay, Shooter, you talk to him, because Shooter's the person that handles all that, all the bookings and everything else. So I was like, I just wanted to make sure I did some part in trying to get, and I think this is going to be a great relationship. I think it's going to help both of our platforms.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, if you're out there for the first time, they do call me Shooter. That is my nickname. My real name is Rob Rashoot. Thomas Schooley, that is his real name. You can see us at almost any Lightning game. If we are not in the stands, we might be in the press box watching. If we are not in the press box, you can usually catch us at intermission outside on the Budweiser beer garden. So we always are down to meet new fans that are at games. If you're ever looking for tickets, we used to give away tickets. We're going to have to figure out a way around that. Thomas also runs a fan group that some of you might already be part of. You want to tell them about the group over on Facebook?
Thunderbolts. It's 2 words, Thunder and Bolts. I started it in 2016 with only 20 people. And now then for the first season and a half, we kept it closed to just those 20 people. And then now it's grown over to 9,000 people. So it's fun. We make sure everybody that's in there is a Lightning fan. You have to have some kind of Lightning on your page or been invited by a Lightning member in the group already. But we try to, from this show, and also, you guys are going to see the Lightning Insider in just a few minutes. Erik Erlendsson, I see his little picture down there now with the spoons behind him. We have good relationships with some of the great people in this community that have covered this. Sonia Bryson, Erik Erlendsson, Jay Retcher, and many other people that we have grown to know over this Lightning community. So, we like to report everything that happens Lightning related. And we try to leave rumors out of there unless we specifically say it's a rumor.
Oh, no, we like rumors. We like rumors big time. Yeah. Might still be coming to Tampa. We don't know. Follow at We the Thunder Pod. Yeah, and you'll get to know some of our regulars. Very, very testy people out there. You said 9:15. It's 9:15 now. And by the way, if you miss a show, usually we're Wednesday nights about this time. If you miss a show, we do take the audio and we do post this as a traditional podcast. If you want to look on, what is it? Apple Podcasts. I use Spotify. You can find us, We the Thunder, and usually it's just the audio version. Sometimes I'll upload the video on there, but you can always catch the replay there, YouTube, everywhere else where there's broadcasting. We usually don't take it down, but Facebook does start to take it down. And by the way, for some reason, our Facebook stream to our page, We the Thunder Podcast, is not working. So if you're out there trying to find us, I don't know how you'll hear this, but we are live on a number number of different ways. The ones you know are going to be on X at We the Thunder Pod, our YouTube, which we've started to post more to, We the Thunder Podcast. And you can still catch us on where it all started. Shooter in the Stash on Facebook is streaming us right now. So if your friends trying to find us, you can still find us out there. Angel, I hate to do this, but I got a guest waiting in the wings.
No, it's fine.
You're going to be a regular on this show and welcome to join us whenever you want, since you are the man here. So I'm sure we will talk to you several times throughout the year.
No problem. I appreciate it. Welcome to the Coastal Sports Network family, guys. Appreciate it. And if one question can get over to Erik, I just want to know one Canadian, if he's going to make his way down here to Tampa. That's all I want to know. But listen, appreciate it. Have a great show, you guys. And I'm sure we'll be talking soon.
All right. Thank you. All right. Let's bring them on. The big dogs. Mr. Erik Erlendsson, the Lightning Insider. Erik, wait a second. You have an intro. You have an intro now. You've been on the show officially enough to have an intro. Here it is. Ready? It's quick. You gotta, don't blink, everyone. Spoon Man! He's here. He is here. This is Erik Erlendsson. If you don't know, we've got some new folks possibly tuning in tonight, Erik. If they don't know you, you are the man, the myth, the legend, the guy that's been covering the team for 75 years, even though they've only been around for 30-something. You are our go-to for all things Tampa Bay Lightning and have been since I moved to Tampa. So thank you again for joining us. And, hey, there's nothing to talk about. It's July, right?
It's dead time, right? Dead time of the year. Nothing going on.
Yeah,
There's always something going on.
Now it really does kind of turn a little bit dead, right? There's, prospect camp and stuff like that, but things do kind of slow down. But the big news dropped last night. We finally found a trade partner for Issac Howard. What can you tell the people about the return that we got for Mr. Howard?
So Sam O'Reilly from Edmonton, he's a first-round draft pick in last year's draft, so 2024. He's a member of the London Knights, just won the Memorial Cup, actually beat Medicine Hat, and Harrison Menigan, the goaltender, is a Lightning prospect who was at a development camp a little over a week ago here. 6'2", 6'1", about 185. He'll add some weight to that. But in reading a lot of the scouting reports and kind of figuring out what kind of a player he is, the offensive numbers are kind of there. It's on a powerhouse London team for sure. I don't know how much of that offense is going to translate to the NHL level, but when you read about how mature his defensive game is and how I think I saw somebody describe him, he's a missile on hitting guys along the boards. You kind of understand the physicality part of his game as well. He's got pretty good hands around the net. I think the one drawback I saw with some of the reports was the skating. But as we know, with Barb Underhill, they get into this program here with the Lightning. I mean, you look at Anthony Cirelli, you look at Braden Point, Carter Verhaeghe when he was here, the improvements that they showed in their skating. They can work with guys if skating is something that might be holding them back a little bit. So they'll get him involved with the Lightning development program that they have here. But, he sounds like he defends like Anthony Cirelli and has a little bit of snarl to his game, not necessarily fighting-wise, but a little bit of that part of his game, and he's going to pitch in some offense. I think a lot of the projections are a really good, strong third-line type of center who could potentially, play a little bit second line as well. But, I think that this is one of those trades that everybody at the end of the day is probably going to be happy with. Obviously, Issac Howard wasn't going to sign here. He gets to go to a place and jump to the NHL right away, that was some questions on why he didn't sign here in April. The Lightning don't have to wait till next year to get a compensatory second-round draft pick, and they get a player. They get a tangible player. Edmonton gets what they need. They needed a pretty skilled guy to play in their top six who's under contract control to kind of help with their cap. So they get that to kind of fill their need. And the Lightning get a player who's a couple years younger. Projection is at least a couple years away from the NHL, but they get a tangible prospect in return and not a draft pick, because there was a lot of talk that Edmonton just wanted to give up a first-round draft pick, and the Lightning didn't want to do that. They wanted a player. So I think at the end of the day, all three parties involved in this, I think, are happy with this type of a deal.
And Eric, after seeing the Florida Panthers win the back-to-back Stanley Cup and then them have really a pretty good free agency off-season period, getting everybody back of the major things, we had this talk on our last podcast that it seems like those gritty guys is what teams are looking for to beat the Florida Panthers to win the Stanley Cup. We saw it before when we had Coleman, Gaudreau, Cirelli, Gord, all those here. And you talk about this guy having that missile hit. Do you think this is one of those gritty players? Because I was seeing the different comparisons out there, and people were comparing him from the Lightning team, a Cirelli or a Hagel, and that he has that kind of hit to him, and he has that kind of sulky winner kind of play. Do you think that's what more teams are going toward now?
Well, it's a copycat league. There's no doubt. Once a team finds success with something, everybody else says, well, we need that then. That's our missing ingredient, right? Look, nobody can do it like the Florida Panthers, though. I mean, look what they did to Edmonton in the finals, and how many times did Edmonton lose their cool? Like, it didn't work. Like, you can't get inside the Florida Panthers' head. They're going to get inside yours, and by trying to retaliate, they've proven that they can get inside your heads. They did it to the Lightning in round one. I mean, how many retaliatory penalties did the Lightning get in that series, right? Like, you can't get caught up in their game. So I don't think, in respect to O'Reilly in particular, I mean, look, he's at least 2 years away from being on an NHL roster, right? Potentially 3, depending on what his development curve ends up being. But it's a good point though, because like I even asked Julian at the end of the season, availability, do you almost have to build your roster right now just to get out of your division? And I wasn't talking specifically about the Panthers, even though they are the team that's knocked them out 2 consecutive years. He said, well, the problem is if you try and build your team to beat the Florida Panthers, what if you never see the Panthers in the playoffs? What are you going to do then? Right? What if your first round opponent is the Toronto Maple Leafs and they play a much different style, or, the Senators who are up and coming, the Canadians who are up and coming? What if you face one of those teams? So I don't know that you can build your roster to defeat a specific team. You can try and add certain elements that team has. And I think that's kind of what you're asking here. There are a lot of teams that will do that. They will try and do that, but it's hard. At the end of the day, the Stanley Cup playoffs, there's a reason it's the hardest in sports to win. And having said that, we've seen back-to-back champions twice in the past 6 years, right? Past 6 seasons, we've seen it, 5 seasons. But it's hard. So you have to build, you just have to build what you think is the best team. Does that mean Florida Panthers? Well, it's worked for them. Doesn't mean it's going to work for, somebody else. Look how many years Buffalo has been trying to get back to the playoffs and the rebuilds that they've been through trying to put their roster together. Like, there's no perfect formula, but it is a copycat league. And I think some GMs will look at other teams' success and say, we need that, and try and find that. But I'm telling you, what the Panthers have is hard to find, because you can have a guy who has snarl, but if he can't play the game, he's no good to you. All the talk of, Ryan Reeves over the last couple of years. He's a great presence in the regular season. He can't help you in the playoffs. The game is different in the playoffs. So it's that's why hockey is such a weird sport. The regular season is so different from the postseason, and what might bring you success in the postseason in the regular season, if you run into the wrong matchup in the playoffs, you just run into the wrong matchup. And I think, honestly, I think that's what happened to the Lightning this year.
Yeah, even kind of had hints from Tkachuk that, that was one of their biggest challenges in the postseason, playing Tampa in that first round. So sometimes it's those matchups. Man, let's go back to that 1 through 8 and see what happens, because I think it was a little bit different.
Please, NHL, listen to what a lot of people are saying. Go back to 1 point, or at least 1 and 2, and then everybody else behind that. This whole idea of rivalries, it's a romantic idea built from the 70s and 80s. It doesn't exist. We can talk about the Battle of Alberta all you want. Is Edmonton and LA rivals because they've met 3 straight years in the first round? I don't think so. I mean, Edmonton's beaten them all 3 times. Like, is that a rivalry because they've met 3 times in the playoffs? I just think this whole idea of those type of rivalries are gone in the NHL. Is Florida? I mean, Florida and Tampa are considered rivals. They're geographical rivals, and I think some of these playoff meetings have been exciting. I think a lot of people have paid attention to them, and I think it's good for the state and good for hockey as a whole. But I just, this whole romantic idea of we got to build rivalries. No, you don't. People get sick of seeing the same teams every year. And I think that's what we're finding out. They're just sick of seeing the same teams every year because you're going to have cycles where basically just like the Atlantic Division, where Tampa Bay, Florida, and Toronto have basically been the top dogs for the last 3 or 4 years, and they play each other every year. They're sick of seeing each other. It doesn't build the kind of rivalries the NHL wants. I think the only reason that we're still in this format is because they can sell their brackets, right? The NHL Bracket Challenge. They can sponsor it. It's money. And, under the old format, everything was reseeded, right? Everything was the next 4 teams that survived the first round are all based on records there, and that's who faces each other. And I like that idea better. I like the 1 through 8 because you're not going to get the number 3, number 4 team in the league sometimes, and certainly within a conference face each other in the first round. The other side of that is you ask the coaches, well, if you're going to meet them, you're going to meet them. You got to beat them no matter what round you face them in, right? And there is some merit to that, but at the end of the day, and I remember asking around Cooper and I asked Ryan McDonough and some other players, is this format doing what the league hoped it would do? And they both said, no, it's not. It's not getting us to what we want with these rivalries. It's just not there. So please, Gary Bettman, if you're listening to this podcast, go back to 1 to 8.
I'm with you. I'd like to see one from. I'm tired of Toronto in the first round or Florida in the first round, which is what we've had for all decade, pretty much. Let's switch gears here. I admittedly not a big draft guy because, so much happens between these guys getting drafted to making the roster. Can go back and just look at the guys that we've drafted over the last 7 years and kind of see that not many of them have made the big squad. Obviously there's ones that have, and we've see them here today in Tampa. Was there any picks that stood out to you this year? I know we were heavily backloaded with 7th round picks. So you got to find those diamonds in the roughs, which we used to do pretty consistently last decade. But was there anyone that stood out to you?
Not really. And like I couldn't even tell you. Like I know there's a lot of people off the top of my head. I can't even think of who they drafted in the 2nd round with their first pick. He's got some defensive merits to his game, right? It's kind of, you look at some of the ways that the Lightning have drafted the last number of years. There's character, there's defensive play, there's hockey IQ, all the characteristics that they look for in players. And, like we're so accustomed, especially in this market, the NFL draft. Like we know all these players, right? Like we watch college football, so we know the players who are coming from the draft. We know the 4th round draft picks because we saw them play, in a primetime game somewhere. Whereas the NHL and baseball and these particular drafts, you don't know the amateur status. You don't. Gavin McKenna, who's going to be the 1st round draft pick. He was the 1st overall pick next year. He gets a lot of hype because he's a fantastic player. Obviously, he's the first big name to go from juniors to the NCAA with the new relaxing of the rules that the NCAA has done. So we know the top guys, the McDavids and the Eichels, the guys that are at the top of the draft. But once you get past 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I mean, you see it every year. There's a lot of number 15 overall picks or number 18 overall picks that never even make it to the NHL, right? And as you pointed out with the Lightning in particular, Braden Point was a 4th round pick. Anthony Cirelli was a 3rd round pick. Nikita Kucherov was a 2nd round pick. I mean, they've just had a lot of success. And, the first pick in the Kucherov year was Nemestikov. Vlad Nemestikov was the Lightning's first pick in 2011 in the 1st round, right? And he's had a good career, but he hasn't had a stellar career. You compare that with Kucherov, who's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's going to go down as one of the, if not the greatest playmaking winger of all time. So I understand the importance of the draft, especially in a cap era where you need to be able to find guys like that. But with the Lightning the last several years, they haven't had first-round draft picks, right? So you haven't been able to get excited. They don't even hold draft parties because there's no reason to hold a draft party without a first-round draft pick. So we'll see how they develop. We know the Lightning develop players very well, but I don't put a lot of stock in actual draft day. Let's see what they look like next year at development camp after they've been in the system for a year and understand the workouts and everything else that they get to work with.
Yeah, and
Last time I remember the Lightning doing a draft party, we drafted Nolan Foote, and they had a little draft party for STMs at Amalie Arena, and Nolan Foote was our big draftee.
Listen, I'm holding out.
Late first-round pick.
Fingers crossed. 2028 is our next first round pick, assuming it's not traded. We will, if the Lightning don't, we will have a draft party. So there you go. All right. What about free agency? I was kind of expecting the Lightning to make a bigger splash, not necessarily in free agency, but the week before. Potentially with a trade, the rumor, thanks to Spittin' Chicklets, came out with McDavid coming here. We milked that for all it was worth. But was that a reality? Maybe someday we'll find out that, JBB did offer something, put something out there, which I'm sure he probably did take a shot. But I was expecting something to happen with knowing that Howard was going to have to move, maybe them moving a player that has a larger salary, not necessarily like one of the top dogs, but somebody with a hefty salary, maybe like a Chernak. But we didn't see the Lightning really make any moves. We did see them grab some, what I would call tier 2, tier 3 guys to fill out the bottom sixth of the lineup. But was there anyone that kind of stood out that we picked up besides bringing back Boris Tkachuk?
They were also rumored to be going after Ehlers. And I'm right here to ask him why. I mean, these were all rumors, so we don't know for sure if they were in on Ehlers. There was nothing ever came out by JBB unless he told you guys on the back scene. But, there was the rumors with McDavid and stuff like that.
Based on the amount of money that Ehlers got from Carolina, I just don't know how that would have fit here. It's 8.5.
Yeah.
Maybe the no state income tax helps you out a little bit to bring that number down, but I just didn't see that kind of a splash. And Julian did say it after the draft when he was asked about the approach to free agency. Well, they made their big splash last year, right? They let Steven Stamkos go, brought in Jake Gensel, made the big trade of Sergachev to bring in Geeky and Moser. So you don't always have to take Julian at face value because sometimes he says don't expect anything and then bang, something happens. But that's just kind of the nature of the beast. But I can tell you, I think a reason why, the Pontus Holmbergs and the Jacob Pelletiers were the two NHL caliber players that they signed. I'm not making a comparison to 2019 here, but it's similar in terms of their thought process. They believed in that 19 team, even though everything that went on, the sweep, the regular season, all of that stuff, they believed in the team they had. And while the conventional wisdom and everybody was like, well, this is not working, blow it up, coach is gone, let's clean house, their approach is different. They take a step back and analyze things deeper than certainly an emotional reaction. That's the one thing Julian doesn't do. He doesn't do emotional reactions. So I think, again, listening to him talk at the end of the year and, the highest scoring team in the league, and they improved their defensive game. They were 6th overall in goals against, and both their special teams were in the top 6, and their goal differential was 2nd in the league, and their 5-on-5 numbers were drastically improved from a year ago. They liked the core of players that got them there. So that's why I don't think you saw any trades, right? Because that would have been the idea. Everybody's like, hey, three first-round exits. It's time to clean house here, and that's just not the philosophy that the front office has is, ownership might have a different story, and they're ultimately the ones that make those decisions if they want to keep with the current path of management. But this management group believes in the Hagels and the Sorellis and the Kucherovs, the Points, the Gensels. I mean, there's a lot of talent on this team. I've written a couple of freelance team previews, and the conventional idea from a lot of people is the window is closing. The Lightning, they don't feel their window is closing because they still have elite players producing at an elite level. They feel they need to bring in the complementary players, the Colemans, the Goodrows, those type of complementary players to support them. And, Holmberg kind of fits that mold a little bit. He's a hardworking guy. He's a defensive forward. I don't know how much offense he's going to give you, but it's probably more than Luke Glendening got you last year. And I love Luke. I love Luke's game. I loved everything about Luke's game. They just needed more offense out of that fourth line. Same with Gergensons. You loved everything about his game. He just didn't get rewarded for some of his style of play. So I think that's why the Lightning kind of sat back and looked at what they feel they like, and is there something better that we feel can improve this? And other than digging into the deep end of the free agent pool, I don't feel that there was much out there, especially in this class. I mean, how many guys re-signed with their own teams, right? Even Brock Besser, who everybody thought for sure was going to hit the market, end up going back to Vancouver because the cap's going up. So teams that didn't have cap space before suddenly found themselves in a situation where they had some cap space that they could utilize. So that kind of killed the market a little bit. Maybe that's why Nikolai Ehlers did get $8.5 million on the open market, because in a free agent pool that didn't have many big fish, he was the biggest fish, right? So it kind of skewed the market a little bit. And so I think as, Julian and the staff.
Well, Marner was the biggest fish.
But he didn't even make it.
Marner was the biggest fish.
But he didn't make it to free agency.
He got his rights traded.
Oh, yeah.
He was a sign and trade before July 1. He got that 8th year for Vegas. So even he didn't make the market.
Yeah, and I thought we made smart moves. As Tony mentioned, the re-signing of Gord's going to be playing here till he's 50, but at a decent rate for who's a guy who's probably going to be a mid or more bottom six player, but that pesky kind of profile, which a lot of fans thought like that we were missing to beat a team like Florida. And I thought let's not forget too, we didn't get to see Oliver Bjorkstrand. Yes. Well, that's the thing. Yeah. I think Ehlers' game is a lot like Bjorkstrand, the same, his fellow countryman, right? So I thought Ehlers wouldn't really make sense, and you've got to move somebody to bring him in with that salary. And who are you going to move? The only guy they can really touch is Brandon Hagel. You going to trade Brandon Hagel right now?
Yeah. No. Or Sorelli or somebody like that. Yeah. No, I agree.
So I want to show you, I tried to take a stab at what I think opening night lines are going to look like. And I want to see if you agree with what we have here. And obviously the top two are pretty much locked. I'm not asking you, Thomas School. I'm asking a Lightning insider. I think the top two lines are pretty much set in stone. Would you agree?
Well, yeah, I think so. I think eventually, I thought when they acquired Bjorkstrand that was an idea they had in mind, was to play him with Hagel Sorelli. He similar to Hagel, his first year, or the year when he was traded here, didn't really find himself. I felt right before the injury, he was starting to find his game a little bit. So yeah, I think he's going to be there. The one thing I would probably look at this and say, I'm not sure. You don't have Connor Geekie on here.
Well, it's funny you asked that. I knew you were going to. So I put the wild cards in here. Geekie still on a 2-way contract. Peltier on that 2-way this year, which turns into 1-way next year. By the way, if you don't know what we're talking about, 2-way versus 1-way contracts, we got you covered. We got a little animation where we talk about that. So go find us on YouTube and watch that video. We also cover restricted and unrestricted free agents, which actually did affect us this offseason because we signed Goncalves, who was a restricted free agent. But these guys at the bottom of the screen, Geekie, Peltier, bringing Boris Tkachuk back, Duke, Dylan Duke, and then maybe we see a Jack Finley come up this year. Do you think the success of this team might ride on some of these guys that we see at the bottom stepping up this year?
Well, Finley's the intriguing one because you look at this assemble of forwards here. There's not a lot of size there, right? They're not big up front, and that was one of the criticisms on how Florida was able to kind of, quote unquote, push them around in that first round series. But Finley brings size, 6'6", 220. Big center. He can kill some penalties for you. Can eat some minutes as a heavy type of player to play against. He's going to have every opportunity, and Julian said it at camp. The prospect camp, that if not for the injuries, Finley might have gotten a better shot than the one game he had last year, right? But he just can't stay healthy. He set a career high in goals last year despite having the fewest games played of his career because he didn't play till December coming off the surgery, and then he was injured again towards the tail end of the year. So, I mean, for him to have the chance, he's going to have to be healthy and stay healthy. But he is the wild card to me in this in terms of where he fits because – the business side comes into it sometimes too. And the only two players that are on this list that do not require waivers to be sent to Syracuse are Connor Geekie and Dylan Duke. Obviously, Finley is coming out of his entry-level contract, so he's no longer, waiver exempt. Kachuk, certainly we know he's been around for a few years. And Pelletier, he requires waivers as well. So that always kind of comes into the decision. But the two guys that I look at that have the best chance of being on this team to start the year are Finley and Geekie. Are you going to carry 14 forwards into the regular season? I don't know. I don't know if they want to do that. We know the best way to save some salary cap space is to kind of keep the roster under the 23 limit, right? To kind of build up that salary cap space throughout the year. So you could do that, but I would have to think, though, Geekie, again, brings size, 6'4", 6'3". The way he responded to being sent down last year and the way that he played when he returned, I think gives him an inside track. I would maybe swap Geekie for Chafee if we're looking at the top 12. Does he fit? I would almost see Geekie playing with Paul and Gonsalves because that was a line towards the end of last year, and they look pretty good together, and that would drop down Gord to play with Holmberg and Gergensons, depending on how they want to move things around. So that's how I would look at that. I would say Chafee right now is your 13th forward, and I would pencil in Geekie potentially into a third line spot.
Not bad for not an insider. I was one off. Schooley, blow it all up. Go ahead. Tell us how it should be.
No, I agree. We talked about this on the last one. I thought Geekie gets another chance because of him getting sent down last year and then coming back, and he did pretty good in Syracuse. And then the other player that I said could be a training camp surprise is Duke. We had the offseason picnic last year, and Eric came by for a few minutes, and we had that talk about Geekie, and it was, I don't think Geekie makes the starting lineup, but I think we see him this year. Well, then we had the injury before the season, and Geekie makes opening night lineup, and it seemed like what Eric said was true. Like, he came too early, and then we seen him get sent back to Syracuse. He did pretty good in Syracuse, and then gelled pretty good in Syracuse too. And then came back here, and I thought looked good in the playoffs.
Yeah, and by the way, me leaving him off is not a knock against Geekie at all. I think he's only gonna get better, and he had so many chances last season where he just couldn't finish, right? So I mean, if he can really round out his game, he's definitely going to see a lot of ice time this season.
And the other guy too, like, I know how high the organization is on Dylan Duke. Not a big player, a lot of hockey IQ, a lot of grind to Dylan Duke's game. And, the one thing I remember, I think it was his first or second prospect camp, just watching him during drills, he's a coach's dream because his feet never stop moving. Like you can tell a player that, but they have to have that in them. The feet are always moving. It's such a vital part. There's so much starting and stopping that can take place throughout the course of a hockey game. On the back check and on the forecheck, whatever it is, his feet are always moving, and coaches, they look for that kind of stuff. And, he certainly proved his worth. 20-goal scorer last year for Syracuse, high for the team lead as a rookie in the AHL, coming out of Michigan. So he's a guy that I could see having some time up with the team at some point this year, because as John Cooper got to watch him during training camp last year and all the scouting reports, he said it. The scouting reports are dead on about his game, and that's why coaches love having Dylan Duke type players on their team, because they do everything right, and eventually that's going to lead Dylan Duke to a regular spot in the NHL. I don't think this year, but it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Do you think this training camp is one of the most important that we've had in the last couple of years? Because I really think this one is going to there is open spots on this lineup. I mean, and also you're one injury away, as we saw last year with Geeky making the opening night. You never know what's going to happen in training camp, where one of these guys could get that call up. And do you think this training camp is going to be a lot more important, a lot more eyes on this one, knowing that there's going to be those, and not just the offense and the defense too. I mean, we haven't gotten to the defense yet, but even going into for that 7th D man going into this season.
See, I don't know that there are a lot of spots open. I really don't. Defense is set unless they make a trade. I mean, who your top 7 are. The only question is Max Crozier going to be your 8th? And he's not waiver exempt anymore. So I think he sticks with this team, to kind of give you that extra defenseman and give you that extra right side look. And, they won a lot of 7-11 last year. So, I mean, just penciling Crozier for Perbix's spot. And that's going to be the 7 that they carry. I don't think, I don't know if, Santini or Carlisle or anybody else is going to be somebody that kind of sticks around coming out of training camp. And, maybe they do carry the 14 forwards to start the year because of the waiver situation. And the forward wise, I think you can pencil in your top 9. The only question we just had was, does Geeky slot into that 3rd line and Gord slot down to the 4th? And then that's your 13 forwards, right? So I think you can pretty much pencil in who the 22, 23 players are going to be come opening night, barring trades and barring injuries in training camp, because that stuff always happens. So I just think it's important for, the Max Groshevs, right? He made the switch last year from winger to defense. He was playing defense the second half of the year. They're trying him out to see what he looks like there. He's a talented player. I think it's an important training camp for a guy like him, for Duke, for Ethan Gauthier, right? He's turning pro this year after a couple of successful years in the Quebec League. So I think it's important for them to establish where those guys are at in their development progress. But I don't know that it's important in terms of, can somebody jump out of the 14, 15, 16 forward spot and steal a spot on the roster? I don't know if that's going to be able to happen.
Yeah. And as far as defense goes, I mean, a lot of people were kind of asking and wanting the Lightning to make a move for defense, but the team defensively played pretty well the second half of last season. So Perbix goes to Nashville as a free agent, and Crozier, as you mentioned, is probably going to be the one that really gets a chance. I think it's Crozier and Radish kind of in that 7th D-man spot. But I'm assuming Crozier is going to get a lot of time to play with Lilleberg because they played together before.
Yep, a lot of chemistry between those two for sure. That's why it wouldn't surprise me to see a lot of 7 and 11 early in the year. Maybe they just carry the 13th forwards to start the season and kind of let that play. Because, I mean, Radish at the beginning of last year, remember, he was basically the odd guy out in the rotation when they dressed 6. And it really wasn't until J.J. Moser got hurt in early December where they were forced to play the 6 that they had, and Radish had a chance to play on a regular basis, and he kind of found his game as the second half went on, and basically almost forced them to play 7 and 11 for a good portion of the second half of the year, because he's got a booming shot. He's got some great offensive instincts. He still has work to do on the defensive side of the game. He's not a great defender in terms of the way he plays, but he got better at it. And that's what even for a player, what is Ratty now, 28 years old, I think 28, 29, he's a little bit more on his career path. But he showed improvements, and he warranted staying in the lineup on a regular basis. I think what we want to see, though, is more consistent play out of whoever is on that third pairing, whether it's Lilleberg, Radish, whether it's Lilleberg and Crozier. Moser he didn't play Mikhail Sergachev's role, but you saw him shift over to the left side for some shifts, throughout the course of last season, and play on the right side with certain guys. And, he's kind of really turned into a pretty versatile type of defenseman in the way that he can play the game. But yeah, I mean, that's just what you want. You want more consistency out of your third pairing, because, we talk about depth in terms of depth scoring a lot, but I think there was a drop off after the first 2 pairings between Lilleberg, between those first 4 defensemen and then that third pairing.
Yeah,
and
but
they want to see growth out of Lilleberg. He needs to take another step forward, because I think what we forget sometimes with him, he kind of burst onto the scene with a couple of monster hits and caught our attention. But then we saw the way he needed to improve defending. And last year, it was his first year in the NHL. And I think any coach will tell you 250, 300, 350 games sometimes is how long it takes for a defenseman to figure it out. So if he can continue that growth curve, then I think there's more to like about what Emil Lilleberg could be. You just got to hope he gets there sooner rather than later.
yeah, I thought he had some last season.
The Lightning likes to get some old players back, Yanni Gord, Kachuk. There is an interesting defenseman that is still unsigned by the name of Jan Ruda.
Sorry, it's not going to happen.
that was gonna be my question. You think any chance he comes to the Lightning and says, you know what, I know I got overpaid these last 2 years. Let me back with you guys.
I don't see it. I mean, never say never, but it's hard to look at what they have on defense right now. And I mean, how old's Ruda now? 32, 33? I mean, he's a little bit older than I think people realize, because he'd been around for a little bit before he ended up here. Obviously, he was a great partner for Victor Hedman, and that's not an easy thing to do, is be a great partner for Victor Hedman. And certainly he was that guy. I just don't know if he's that guy anymore, right? Like he's been gone now for 3 seasons, and I just don't know if you think about bringing back a guy like Jan Ruda, if you expect to get the same player, you're going to be disappointed. And I look at him. Is he better than Crozier? Is he better than Darren Radish? I mean, those are the questions you have to ask.
He'll be 35 on the 29th of this month.
Yeah, so he's deceptively in his career. He's deceptively deep in his career.
Thomas, let these guys go.
They had him at a good time.
Thomas just wants to bring back every old player, including one in Nashville for sure, and not Nick Perbix. I'm right, said we need a better bottom pairing. Eric, doesn't every team feel this way about their third defensive pairing? Like, you can never have a great third defensive pairing. You've got to get guys that aren't making that much money, which means they're not going to be that great. And if they are that great, they're going to get paid eventually, and they're going to be a top 4 defenseman. So all those Lightning fans out there, I kind of feel like I hear you, right? But your bottom pairing on defense is always needs to be improved, right?
And that's the challenge in today's day and age. And, specifically for the Lightning before this offseason, it was basically a flat cap. For 5 years, it was a flat cap. So they had to work with this type of a budget, quote unquote, to be able to retain as many players as they could. Because let's face it, if if the Lightning in 2022 had the same cap growth that the Florida Panthers have this year, I'm pretty sure Alex Killorn and Andre Palat are still here. I'm pretty sure they find a way for those guys to stay. The cap just didn't go up, and they just couldn't do it, so they had to commit dollars elsewhere to be able to maintain those other players that are on their core. So and this is what you end up doing. And I know the cap went up this year, but the Lightning, Oliver Bjorkstrand's taken up a good chunk of the jump this year, right? He's a 5.25, I think, is his cap hit, somewhere in that range of what he did. So, yeah, the Lightning have more cap space this year than they've had maybe in previous years, but it's still not much, right? I think they're 1.8 million under the cap right now. So there's
way more than they've ever had before.
Right, and that's not that much room, right? it's just more than we're used to seeing. We're used to them being within $12 of hitting the cap ceiling when the roster is announced. It won't be that case this year. They don't have to go into LTI this year, which a lot of that stuff is going to be much different when the new CBA goes into effect after the season. But you want more out of it, but you've only got so many dollars you can commit to it, because you're paying Jake Gensel 9.5, you're paying Nikita Kucherov 9.5, and Vasilevsky and Hagel and Sorelli. I mean, your star players are going to get their money, and similar to some of the issues that Edmonton's had, right? Even though they've gotten to the Cup final 2 straight years and got to Game 7 2 years ago and with Game 6 this time around, they just don't have the overall depth because they've got to pay so much money to their top guys. And that's organizations have to deal with what they have to deal with in the Lightning.
Yeah. So one more question before we let you go. And again, thanks for joining us, Erik Erlendsson, the Lightning Insider. We also call him Spoon Man. Let's we got
2 more questions because I got one too.
Well, okay. We'll let Thomas get a question too. We had a former Bolt retire this week. Tyler Johnson hung up the skates. What are your thoughts on Tyler Johnson and his career, especially with his time here in Tampa Bay, which in my eyes was his best time in the NHL?
Yeah, easily. Especially when Marty and we moved on, the impact that, Marty had on Tyler. Obviously, both of them, similar stories, similar backgrounds, undrafted, too small, can't play in the NHL, won't have success in the NHL. Once Marty was traded and Tyler kind of took all those lessons that Marty gave to him and ran with them. And you can't convince me right now that if he didn't break his thumb in 2015, that the Lightning didn't find a way to win that series against Chicago, right? He couldn't take faceoffs. He couldn't shoot. He couldn't be the player he was. I mean, how dominant was Tyler Johnson in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Rangers?
Unbelievable.
He scored a 3-on-5 shorthanded goal, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
He had a hat trick in the Eastern Conference Finals, one of those games against the Rangers. Big spark plug. The chemistry him and Andre Palat had together. We talk about the chemistry of Sorelli and Hagel. Well, Palat and Johnson had it before those two did. Killed penalties together. I'll never forget Game 4 against the Red Wings in 2015. They just got shut out on home ice. They're about to go down 3-1 in the series. They're down 2 goals in the third period, and it was Johnson and Palat that just drug that team to victory. They scored those 2 third-period goals. They combined for the overtime winner that Andre Palat scored to even up that series 2-2. They eventually go on to win it in 7. But if they fall down 3-1 in that series, I mean, who knows? They probably don't get out of the first round, and they certainly don't make the Stanley Cup final this year. And Tyler Johnson had a lot to do with that. He didn't play with a chip on his shoulder like Marty did, but he had that element to his game. And for him to come here at with a franchise that really wasn't anything up to that point when he signed here, to be a big part of building a contender. And I was so, the whole Nikita Kucherov situation in 2021, I mean, Johnny was going to be the odd man out. He'd already been put on waivers. They had tried to move him several times. Then Kucherov has the hip injury. He can't play it. It allows the cap space to keep Tyler Johnson. and he got to be a part of that second Stanley Cup winning team. I felt so good for him for all that he had gone through, which none of it was his fault. He was caught on the business side of it, and he still went out and played and performed like he did. I think eventually you might see his, maybe not his number, but I think eventually his name might go into the Lightning Hall of Fame. He was that important at a time, when the team needed a player like that.
That's what I was going to ask, actually, if you guys think he'll be in the Lightning Hall of Fame. For me, there's no doubt about it. He should be in there.
Yeah, I think he'll get there.
Which is kind of a thing on my question. Real quick, I've been seeing that the schedule is kind of supposed to be coming out on the 16th. Have you heard anything about the schedule release? We did have a couple of people on here. Usually they do opening nights like one day, and then they'll do the full schedule a couple days after. I've been seeing hints that it's going to be right around the 16th, which we're a week away. Have you heard anything on that?
Well, I'd originally heard sometime around the 12th, and I think I read somewhere today they pushed it back to the 16th. For some reason, they wanted to see how free agency changed things. I don't understand that philosophy at all. But, the building dates are the building dates. And look, TV rules so much of what goes on with some of these things. I wouldn't be surprised if ESPN wanted more time to kind of decide the type of matchups and the kind of games that they wanted, or TNT wants for their national broadcast. So, but yeah, again, I heard the 12th, and now you're hearing the 16th, which is usually it comes out around the draft. In years past, it's always come out around the draft, and now they've pushed it back a couple of weeks. It's smart in terms of the league because it keeps the news cycle for the league kind of going a little bit longer here, right? Because once you get past July 2nd, it's dead days of free agency, right? All the big guys have basically signed. There's, tier 2, tier 3 type of free agents that they're going to sign contracts. But for the most part, it's the dead days of the hockey summer until we get to arbitration cases. So I think it's smart from the league standpoint. I just want to know. I just want to know the schedule sooner. I just want to know what date I'm not going to be free moving forward sooner rather than later. But I'm selfish that way.
Right. So, and I'm going to group these two to reel together. Do you think expansion anytime soon? We've seen some Atlanta coming out with a big push. We've seen Houston coming out with a big push. Right now, the NHL is tied with the NFL for out of the major four with the most teams. And, the commissioner came out and said they're not necessarily looking to expand, but if you want to pay them a couple $1 billion, they are going to listen, because the fee has went up dramatically since Seattle got in. And then the other thing is that you talked about Nikita Kucherov being a first ballot Hall of Famer. And it was a personal question on your career. Do you ever pinch yourself and be like, I've interviewed this Hall of Famer. I mean, if you go down the list of people that, since you've been covering this team, and it's a great way to get you out of here, is talk about your big career and people following you. But I mean, you've covered, the original team. You did Andrew Chuck, Vinny LeCavier, Marty St. Louis, all three, the Hall of Fame. Stamkos, who will be in there one day, Kucherov's who's going to be in there one day, Vasi's going to be there one day. Do you ever say, wow, this is the job I have? And for people that don't know you, before he had his own website, lightninginsider.com, check it out. It's worth it. He was with the Tampa Tribune before they folded. So do you ever, your career, you be like, I can't believe I'm still doing this and get to talk to these many Hall of Famers and everybody knows you. We've been up in the locker room after the games when you're interviewing, and you hold that machismo down there in that locker room, that you have that mic and you take control of that locker room and asking the questions. So first, do you think they expand? And then do you ever just pinch yourself?
I'm glad you went back to the first question, because I got so flattered I forgot what the first question was. It's hard to turn down billions of dollars in expansion fees, especially when they don't count towards hockey-related revenue, so it's not split with the players. But it will be interesting because, one of the big things in the new CBA is the conversion back to an 84-game schedule, which means you finally get it balanced out, right? 4 games in your division, 3 games in your conference, 2 games out of conference. So it's a perfectly balanced schedule. Everybody plays the same number of teams, the same number of times. You introduce expansion into that, well, now all of a sudden, how do you kind of revert the schedule and change things around a little bit? So I think expansion probably comes. Every league wants a team in Atlanta because it's such a big television market. And, the reason the Thrashers didn't survive is the ownership was a mess. You had 8 different people who were part of the ownership group. There's a lot of infighting going on, a lot of, behind the scenes stuff that totally forced the commissioner to say, okay, we're done with you as a group. We're sending it back to Winnipeg and going back into that market. So, if this ownership group could have its act together, they've already got a stadium or an arena being built specifically for an NHL team. You'd have to think they wouldn't do that if they didn't have some inside tracks into knowing that they were going to get a team. So I think Atlanta is going to end up with a team once again. And then we'll see. I mean, Houston's been vying for an NHL franchise for a long time, back to when they had the Houston Aeros of the AHL in their market, right? Where does Quebec fall? Quebec has been, yammering to get back in the league for years, and they've been quiet about it. And they have a nice new state-of-the-art facility up there. So I think eventually.
Yeah, but the commissioner came out with had no Canadian teams on the list that he gave out.
I know. And nobody thought a franchise was going back to Winnipeg until it was announced, right? So take that for what it's worth. But yeah, I think expansion is eventually going to come back. And in terms of, I guess I've never really thought of it that way. The only time that I've ever kind of, quote unquote, pinched myself or sort of been in awe was at the 99 All-Star game, and I had a chance to be in a small group with Gordie Howe, right? It's the only time I've kind of been awestruck. And, I was still young in my career at that point. And I guess I've never really thought of it in terms of, the players that I have had a chance to deal with and interact with and kind of get to know a little bit through the years, because it's going to sound a little brash, but to me it was the job. It was just part of the job of what I was doing, especially those years I was at the paper, right? I covered the team for the paper from 01 until, the end of the 16 season. And if anybody doesn't remember, this was actually in a hotel room in New York getting ready for game 4 of the series against the Islanders when the Tribune folded. So I was in the middle of all that. I guess, like, could I send Marty St. Louis a text right now and he would answer me? Yeah, and I guess I don't think about it in those type of terms because it's just part of what I was tasked to do as part of the job. I'm not losing perspective on that. Like, I understand, especially from outside looking at me, all the things that I have been able to do. That's not to say I take it for granted, because I don't. The chance to interact with these type of players is a privilege. It is a privilege to me. But I never looked at it in terms of, wow, that's a Hall of Famer. I get to talk to him. To me, it was, I'm just holding a conversation with Marty St. Louis. And I think that's the big difference, especially in today's media, is that you don't get those type of relationships because everybody is so guarded on the athlete side, right? They're so concerned about what the media might write about them, especially in the age of social media, where things can take off like that. It's a wildfire burning. So I think guys are a little bit more guarded. So it takes a little bit more to build those type of relationships with players nowadays. But the fact that I could go up and just say hi to Dave Anderchuk and, hold a conversation about, hey, remember when this happened during that season, and, stuff like that. I guess it is kind of a cool thought, which something whenever I can't do this anymore, or I choose not to do it anymore, maybe I would look back at it and say, man, what a great opportunity this was. But when you live in it, I think it's just part of your daily routine. I don't mean to come off as sort of blasé about it, but it is part of the job. And that's just kind of how I viewed it. But you did give me some perspective there on what it does mean to interview these guys and talk to these guys and get to know them a little bit, or at least as well as any media person can get to know a professional athlete. But it's not like the days of who was the guy that wrote all the biographies about Michael Jordan, right? And the relationship that those two guys had. You just don't have those relationships anymore.
He's a professional, Thomas Schooley. It's not like when you get up there in the press box or in the locker room and you're like, Mr. Headpin, can you tell me? No, we don't even say a word. We're too scared to even say a word to those guys. And hopefully we'll be.
Wait, has there been a time when you have got to sit in the stands? I asked Deidre the same question. Like, have you yourself ever been there? Because in case you don't know, if you're up in the press box, you don't get to cheer. You don't get to wear Lightning attire. You have to be neutral. Have there been a time when you have sat in the stands and been a fan? And if not, I'm going to give you the same offer I gave to Deandra. I have a second seat anytime. You are more than welcome to take one night off and come and sit and actually cheer for the team. That's what me and Shooter said. That being in the press box is great. We love doing it. We love seeing you guys up there and being able to do some of that stuff. But every once in a while, sitting in those seats to be with the fans, to cheer, to jump up, to
Thomas,
be a fan, sometimes is good.
Erik is actually a Panthers fan. You didn't know that? Like, he doesn't want to watch the Lightning. He just works.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the last time I sat in the stands would have been when my kids were younger. I think I took my my second and my fourth, who are the sports fans in our family. I took them to a game one time. Me and my brother took them to a game. That's probably the last time I sat in the stands for a hockey game. And my youngest is 20 now. He was maybe he was eight then. So it's been a while since I've sat in the stands. About the only thing you catch me in the stands at a sporting event nowadays, though, I used to go to some USF football games because my other son was in the band there. He's not in the band anymore, so I don't think I'll be attending any more USF football games. Went to some USF soccer games. And then if any of the national teams come around, the U.S. men's national team or the U.S. women's national team, we'll go see them. Because that's one thing that, being on this side of it for damn near 25 years now, actually more than 25 years, is you kind of lose that fan perspective a little bit, right? Because you're trained to think and view things a certain way. Maybe someday, again, if I'm not doing this anymore, that perspective changes and I can go back to being a fan, because certainly in the younger days I was, but not so much anymore. And in terms of going to see a Lightning game, well, I got to do radio work, right? It's hard.
Oh, that's right.
It's got to work.
So,
but hey, listen, you can give.
If I don't work, I don't get paid.
We'll dress Thomas Schooley up like you, and we'll have him go do it. Don't take Schooley's seats. I think we got to get you a sticks of fire. Like, we got to get you up there with those maniacs, because that'll change your whole viewing experience of a Lightning game. It's always a fun time. It's really fun anywhere you sit, but those guys are awesome.
Yeah. It's a great arena. It really is. I've been to obviously a lot of arenas, and there's not a bad seat in that house.
Yeah,
we talked to Trey from Hooked on Devils, or one of the Devils podcast, and we asked him what media is and he said Amalie has one of the best media areas out of all the stadiums, minus LA. He said
LA's a warehouse, and so is New Jersey. They're just huge. They're almost too big.
We need a little warm room at this one so we can get Thomas Schooley up there. Night after night. All right. Well, hey, we will let you go. Thank you so much, as always, for jumping on with us. You're always very gracious with your time, even short notice. I think I messaged you at like 3 o'clock today. It's like, hey, what you doing tonight? Yeah,
I should have told you my superpower was I'm always bored.
Well, hey, it's July, so I figured you didn't have too much going on. And we had a couple things to talk about. So, yeah, thanks as always. Sadly, we still got a couple months until they drop the puck for opening night. But the summer's going to go by hopefully pretty fast.
Hey, say rookie camp will be here before you know it.
True.
Right? We're into the second week.
When's training camp yet? Do you know?
I don't specifically. I don't have the preseason schedule in front of me. Backtrack this preseason schedule by about 6 days, and whatever that Thursday is when training camp will most likely start. I can't verify that, but that's typically the way it goes. And then, the rookie camp would open the week before that. So usually the first Thursday or first Wednesday of September is when the rookie camp will open, or sometime around there, a week before training camp starts.
Folks,
September 22nd is the first preseason game. So the Thursday before be the 11th or the 18th.
Which means that'll probably be the first day on the ice, which means the day they report will probably be the day before that. So whatever that Wednesday in would be reporting day, media day, and then that Thursday will probably be first on ice sessions. Based on past experience.
It can't come soon enough. That's for sure. I know I get seasonal depression in the summer because there is no hockey to watch. So it's setting in now. But yeah, thanks again, Erik. Folks, if you're not already subscribed, go to lightninginsider.com. By far the best Lightning coverage that you will get besides this podcast. He actually knows what he's talking about, though. We're just like fans. But yeah, go follow him on the socials. If you're listening to this show and you don't already, I don't know what you're doing. You're messing up. So if you don't, make sure you go follow him. Hey, Erik, we'll get you on once the season starts again, and hopefully we'll see you at Amalie Arena in a couple months.
Absolutely. Look forward to it, guys. Thanks as always for the time. It's great to hang out with you guys for a little bit.
All right. Thank you. See you soon.
Thanks.
Spoon Man. Spoon Man. All right, Schooley. Man, well, you always got to ask these mushy questions. Like, tell me about your feelings about how the Lightning have progressed over your 25 years and
give you the thunder.
Just give you shit. By the way, thank you for anyone new that's watching us. We are partnering with the new network now, 102.9. That is the Coastal Sports Network. So thank you guys for having us. We do this show really only once a month in the off season. So we'll do a show in August. We'll do one in September. Hey, maybe we'll throw in 2 in September. It is really October, and during hockey season is when we start to get going once a week, probably on Wednesday nights about this time. But we will let you know if that does change. It could change. And we will definitely plan on doing some more watch parties, virtual watch parties. We'll team up with Sticks of Fire. We'll let you know when the Thunderbolts are doing their thing, whether it's their picnic. Are we having a picnic this summer? You're going to wait till it's 108 degrees outside, or?
I know. I'm trying to get that date situated. I'm also trying to get a cruise situated.
A cruise? There's a Thunderbolts.
Yeah, it looks like possibly during Olympics. So, be perfect timing.
Well, how are you going to watch the Olympics then?
They have them on the cruise.
Oh.
It's NBC.
I thought you're like cut off from the world when you're in a cruise. I've only been on one cruise.
Yeah, I have a travel agent looking into it right now, and hopefully have some news for that, and also some away trips. I think a lot of us had voted about maybe DC this year as an away trip, and then also Nashville again.
I'll scout it out and be in DC in 2 weeks from today. Find you a spot. Why is your video so green right now? All of a sudden,
I had turned off my camera, and then I closed the lens, and then it opened back up the lens, and I was green all of a
It
sudden.
looks way cooler. Like I have a blue glow, you have a green glow. I know you're a Closet Stars fan, so suits you.
Yeah.
I want to ask the chat because I think I missed it when you guys probably might have been commenting on it. Tyler Johnson, is he Lightning Hall of Fame material in the next couple years? I think you said yes, right?
I think for sure. I did get someone message me and said that they had seen that they're going to retire his jersey. I don't think that's going to happen. You can't retire everybody that won a Stanley Cup with us.
You've got to be in the
I
record
don't see
books.
his.
Stamkos 100%. Nobody else is wearing 91. He's the leading scorer for now. He probably will get eclipsed by Cooch because he's just a point scoring machine. But yeah, I mean, you've got to hold multiple records to have your number retired. I don't even remember Tyler Johnson's number.
9.
Okay, that seems right. But I'll tell you what, when he announced that retirement,
how many girlfriends he had while he played for the Lightning was 9.
when he announced his retirement, I was looking for some clips for us to post on X. By the way, if you're new to this show, X is probably where we're most active besides Thomas Schooley's Thunderbolts over on Facebook. But I did post a video and it was awesome just kind of going through some of those highlights. Like Eric said, like that 2015 run with the triplets, like Tyler Johnson seemed as good as Nikita Kucherov back then. Like he was a dynamic, explosive player and just like he was unbelievable back then. So that was really fun to watch. And I posted a really good highlight of that. Also, if you want to go back and
it was a great play on words too. We had a Cooch and a Johnson, so it was always a great play on words there. And then of course you had the triplets and that great photo of the three of them with Palat, Kucherov, and Johnson in the sweaters, matching sweaters, and that great meme that they have. So yeah, he was pivotal. I got the chance to meet him several dozen times. He liked the chat. He also liked the females. Could be a part of the reason why we don't. Could be a reason why we don't have the Lightning girls anymore. Part of the reason, but I digress.
Do not blame the Lightning girls not being around because of Tyler Johnson. Come on.
There was a reason why his car got smashed up. Just saying.
Yikes. Yeah, the crazy part about Tyler Johnson was if you saw him outside of the rink or not in his pads, like you would not think this guy was a professional hockey player. Like you just wouldn't. He was not a tall guy. He was not a big and strong guy. Sure, he could probably still beat me up, and I am bigger than him. But even like a Marty St. Louis, you saw that guy, if he had shorts on, you saw his legs, and you were just like, dang, this guy's a monster. Tyler Johnson was just such a pedestrian looking dude, and he could do unbelievable things on the ice. So happy trails, Tyler Johnson. Maybe I'll try to hit him up on Twitter and see if he'll come on the show. Probably.
My favorite off ice with Tyler Johnson story is the first year we played in Vegas. There was a large group of us, 45 of us from Thunderbolts went, and I want to say close to that of Sticks of Fire went also. And we had some Facebook page where we would tell people, hey, we're meeting up here, we're meeting up there, or if you saw the team out and everything. So the group of us are walking around one night, the night before 2 nights before the game, and we're walking around in a casino, and as we're walking by, we see Tyler Johnson, Braden Point,
Schuster?
No, Palat and what was his name? Dotchin, sitting at a blackjack table, and then some random guy sitting at a blackjack table. So we just stop and we're just looking at them playing blackjack, and Tyler Johnson and Palat turn around and see us, and they're like, okay, let's cash in. Well, in the meantime, Dotchin and Point came over and took a picture with us and said, thanks for coming to Vegas, blah, blah, blah. And then the guy comes over to us afterwards and says, were those Lightning players I was sitting with? And we're like, yeah. And he's like, I'm from Tampa, but I don't really know the players. He's like, but at the table, they asked me if I was here for the game. And I was like, yeah. And they said, what's your favorite player? And he tells Tyler Johnson, Tyler Johnson's my favorite player. And Tyler Johnson replies to him, he's okay. And he said, Poy and Dotchin were just cracking up. And we're like, Tyler Johnson was one of the ones you were playing with. He's like, I thought so. He's like, I felt like the biggest idiot. So that's how Tyler Johnson was off the ice. He was a jokester. He liked to play around. So it's good he went out on his own time, and he just recently got married. Sorry, Serena. And it wasn't Serena. But yeah, and it was a nice goodbye letter he wrote.
Yeah. Awesome. Didn't really get your thoughts on the whole Isaac Howard thing. I mean, are you happy with resolution? We got something for him. If we didn't do anything,
you had to do something where, like Eric said, you were going to get the compensation second round pick if we didn't get rid of him sometime this season. Was I hoping that we'd get some kind of defenseman? Sure. But did teams know that we had to get rid of them or we were going to get a second round composition pick? Absolutely. So when they know that, there's not much bargaining you can do.
Yeah, and to pull off and get an actual prospect like Sam O'Reilly, I mean, obviously not the same type of player as Isaac Howard, but the kind of player like every team needs and wants and desires. Like that guy that's projected to be he's really projected to be a third line center, but like the physicality, the toughness, the grittiness, and he can add a little bit of scoring on top of that. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do, hopefully, with this organization. And seems to, Deandra had posted an interview I was watching before we jumped on, seems to really have a good head above his shoulders, which the guy that went the other way, I don't know if he does, based on some of his actions and reactions to, not wanting to play in Tampa for whatever reason.
Does he get booed his first game here at Emily?
I think he will.
Oh, for sure. For sure he's going to get booed.
Better.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this before. It's Druin 2.0. But the only difference is he believes he's NHL ready. Apparently scouts and Oilers think he was NHL ready. I think the Lightning thought he was NHL ready too, just didn't have the cap space last year. And I think that's the problem. I think had that not blown up last year, this year we might have seen Isaac Howard. But because of the cap problem we were in last year, I think that's where it totally went south for them.
Yeah, and Isaac Howard, there's no doubt, offensive talent, right? You can look at what he's done in at Michigan State, at the World Juniors for Team USA. But, here's one thing to think about. He didn't start his college career at Michigan State, which I'm assuming is a pretty stacked college team. When he was playing at University of Minnesota Duluth, he wasn't very good. So right. I don't know if he's actually gotten better, or is it the people that have been around him? Like he was a minus 13. Even last year at Michigan State, he scored 52 points, 26 goals, 26 assists, and he was only a plus 19, scoring 52 points. That's not good. So we need some players that can score goals and play defense. So I like that we made out with a prospect. I wish he was a little more NHL ready because I think he's 19 compared to Howard, who's 21. But just to get something here is a win. And I thought Erik's comments tonight about how the team seems pretty satisfied with what they had the second half of the last season were pretty interesting, kind of matched with what we saw with free agency and the lack of moves. So it'll be interesting to see if this team can develop, because we put the post out about a week ago on Twitter. I don't know if you voted. Where does this team, in your eyes, end up at the end of the season? Are they a Stanley Cup team? Are they a deep playoff team? Are they a first round exit? Are they not a playoff team? And the majority went with first round exit again. So we got to figure out a way to get over that hump.
I did vote. I said deep playoff.
I hope so. But I mean, we didn't make any major changes, so we got to have some of these guys come up like a Geeky and have a fantastic sophomore season. Gonzo, re-signing him was, and we talked about it on our last show when you were asking me what free agents we needed to keep, and I said he's the only one. The rest of them can all go. So hopefully he can continue to develop, and they've got to continue to develop some of these younger players, because the name of the game in the playoffs is going to be depth. 100%. That's what we've seen from Florida. And unfortunately for us and the rest of the NHL, Florida is not going to be much worse next year. They were able to pull off some really amazing stuff with bringing back Marchand and Bennett and old elbow to the head guy. That's what I call him. So they're going to be, again, tough to beat next year. So
we did bring back Kachuk, who was part of the Hagel deal.
Don't say Kachuk. It sounds too much like the Dunes. Kachuk. Okay, big
Kachuk.
difference. I don't know if he's going to make much of
who was part. He was part of that Hagel deal. It was him and Radish that got sent to get Hagel. So half of what we gave away for Hagel, we have back.
Yeah, and if you do want to see us talk about the free agency, or that last episode, I guess was before free agency, you can go back and watch that.
Yeah, we had joined Sticks of Fire for free agency.
Oh yeah, we did jump on day of free agency with Sticks of Fire for a little bit. They did like a marathon, which was very. I mean, we didn't make too many moves, so I don't know what they were talking about the whole time. But it was fun when we jumped.
Nobody really did, because there were so many, like Erik said, so many players that re-signed with their team, or before they even hit, like a Marner, before they even hit free agency, was already signed and traded. I think Ehlers, Burns, I think were some of your big ones that got moved. There was a couple here and a couple there that looks like Carolina got themselves a little bit better. And then
there are several teams that are over the cap right now.
Yeah,
is one of them. Vegas is way over right now, so there's going to be some moves made. I don't expect the Lightning. I think what we looked at earlier tonight is what we're going to see on opening night. I don't expect us to make any trades or bring in anyone else, really. Maybe like a tryout contract with someone. I did say that I would have liked to see Corey Perry come back, but he went off to LA, despite the curse of Corey Perry. I thought that was the kind of player we really needed on that bottom six.
And the funny part was there were so many comments and things that Perry had done to the Kings, so the Kings fans hated him. And then all of a sudden it was Corey Perry's here, and the comments go back. If you're on X, go back to the LA Kings when they announced they signed Corey Perry and just read the comments. It's great between at least you'll get to the finals this year and get past Edmonton, to why, and they're real good comments. Some of these signings, if you go and read them, they're golden.
Yeah. So let's come back next month. We'll talk a little bit about some of these other teams that we're, expecting to maybe be a little bit better next season, maybe be a little bit worse next season. We'll do that in August. So stay tuned. Make sure you follow We the Thunder on X, on Facebook. You can follow me at Shooty Shoots, also on X. You can also follow me on Instagram. And I do also have a TikTok. I know you have a TikTok too, Thomas Schooley. And a lot of stuff I post is just lightning stuff. It's really don't have
All
much.
mine is.
Yeah, we're such losers. That's all we do. Let's talk about hockey.
You can follow Thunderbolts. The schedule's expected to be within the next week. I would expect they always do the home openers first. So I would imagine those come out in the next couple of days. And then the full schedule will start planning some group dates, just depending on when the schedule is. And if there's any time that we can find a crunch game that matches up with the Lightning game, we definitely tried to do that. We got to do that in Carolina a couple of years ago. Michelle, she was there. Serena, she was there. It's a good time to go see the young guys in the crunch and then go see the Lightning play.
Yeah, so stay tuned. We'll be back next month. We'll talk about our games, our can't miss games on the schedule.
We did buy out Connor Sherry. We didn't talk about that.
I mean, we bought out Connor Sherry. Is that big news?
Thank God. Thank God. Well, terminated his contract. We didn't even buy him out. We terminated his contract.
Yeah. So long, Connor Sherry. It was not great, to be honest. All right, cool. Hey, make sure you follow us. Thank you again to Erik Erlendsson. Thank you to Angel. You will see him. We will definitely invite him on the show throughout the season. And thanks to everyone that is part of this Coastal Sports Network for having us on. Make sure you all go check them out and show them some love. And it's going to be a very quiet next month. Kind of got through all the good stuff here, and we go into hockey, dormant hockey season for a little bit, but we'll be around. So until then, Thomas Schooley, you got anything else?
Nope. Let's go.
All right, this has been We the Thunder. Don't forget to be the Thunder.
That's it?
Shooter and Schooley, bringing the fire. Tampa Bay squad, taking it higher. Strikes on the ice, lightning so bold. Hedman, Cooch Point, the story unfolds. We the Thunder,